Alright, ladies and gents, revision second part. I'm continuing with France. I don't want you to go into details here because French Revolution is not even emergent, but I would like you to remember that there was a revolution of 1789, and the French Revolution had very important change in France against absolutism. People started their fight. Of course, there was famine and serious problems of economy, and reforms didn't come. So the king actually always postponed the problems. So the revolution broke out with the leadership of the Third Estate. I mean, mostly peasants and mostly the lower middle class people and middle class people. A very important event was the 14th of July 1789, the siege of Bastille, because this was a symbolic event. Actually, it was not very efficient, but this building, as being a symbolic building, had to be demolished and had to be pulled down, and this was the fight against absolutism symbolically. Okay, but what is more important, as the revolution spread in the country, they could reach that on the 4th of August, so we are still in 1789, on the 4th of August, all the feudal privileges were abolished. This means that there was no more tax payment towards the church, so the tithe was abolished. Everyone had to pay tax, so general taxation was introduced towards the state, so a kind of change came. And what I would like you to remember, Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, this document was created. This is what you have to remember at Középszint, that on the 26th of August, same year, they gave out a document which put enlightenment into practice. So all the human rights we had been talking about, that the freedom of speech, the right to be free and independent, and the free choice of religion and everything, have to be provided to everyone in the country. So we can say that this was about enlightenment, and now the French people could enjoy this. So that's one thing. And the other, that after this document was created, soon in 1791, a new constitution was created, and constitutional monarchy was born. We know that the king didn't want to cooperate, so it failed. But after the king's execution, there was a short period of Jacobin terror when the republic became so bloody that actually it couldn't last long. I would like you to remember that after the terror of the Jacobins, the Napoleonic Wars, please remember that Napoleon was a general and politician. And from some elements from the Napoleonic Wars we need, I would like you to remember that Napoleon was born in Corsica, and he became a military leader or leader of the country, the Emperor of France, by a military coup. So he used his army to get power. And he actually made peace in the country. He was accepted widely. And he soon started to reach European hegemony. Hegemony means that you occupy everything. He occupied, as you see, all the European territories. There are some exceptions. He couldn't beat Great Britain because Great Britain had a very strong fleet. Here is the Trafalgar battle in 1805, which was a serious defeat of the French fleet, so the English couldn't be invaded. This is why he started the continental blockade. Look at this line all over the seashore, that British ships couldn't enter the ports of Europe. So actually Napoleon didn't want English traders to benefit. So actually, he he excluded Britain from Europe. But Russia was so underdeveloped, he needed British traders, so he broke the rule, and this is why Napoleon attacked Russia. It was impossible because of very, very big distance and the really freezing cold and the Russians. So he was stopped, and while he was retreating from Russia, he was beaten, and finally he was defeated. First, he was sent to exile to the island of Elba, just like here somewhere. But he returned, and there was a final. This is the continental blockade. I'm sorry, but sorry, this is the Russian campaign. He had to come back, and at Lipche he was defeated. Okay, so island of Elba, exile, and then he returned, and the final defeat of Napoleon was the Waterloo battle in 1815, and then there was the final exile to really, really far to the Atlantic Ocean. He was put and he died there. So this is the fall of Napoleon. If you know these things, I think that will be enough. And of course, we also talked about the birth of the USA. I don't want you to remember the details of the fight and such. Please remember that in 1776, 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence was created. And this is just like the same document as the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen of France, but it was written by Thomas Jefferson in Philadelphia, and also put enlightenment into practice, also provides human rights and civilian rights to people, so the same idea. And in the USA, after winning the war against the English, a new political system was created. We call it a presidential democratic system. And I would like you to remember these things. It will be useful for CK as well, or CC as you call it. So the Constitution is the world's oldest written constitution and role model for others. It has three main principles: federalism, separation of powers, rule of law. What we wrote down on the lessons will be enough for this. Federalism, again, the power is divided between central powers. As I gave you the example of the FBI, so this is important. The picture is not really, I just like this picture. The next is the separation of powers, that there are three basic branches. You already know the separation of power from Montesquieu. They put into practice. There is legislation, execution, and jurisdiction. And in the USA, there is the Congress, the President, and the Supreme Court. This is what you have to remember. And the rule of law, that everything, no person, not even the President, is above the law. So the Constitution is the basic. Please remember that in the USA, the Bill of Rights is not the same as in England. In England, it's the rules of constitutional monarchy from 1689, but this one is about the first 10 amendments of the Constitution is called the Bill of Rights. So there is an American Bill of Rights too. So the rule of law is one thing. We have the power branches. The Congress is legislative branch, House of Representatives, House of Senate. I don't go into details again. The President is the executive branch. As you know, the details, like for 4 years, and today can be elected twice, and American citizens, such, you will see it in your notes. And one more thing, the checks and balances. This is a principle, the third after the President. The third branch is the Supreme Court, that is an independent court, just like in the constitutional monarchy of England, so we don't speak about it in details. So, as the last step of the American politics, the checks and balances principle really works. The three power branches control each other. These are the details. You don't have to remember these details. I just want you to remember the fact that in America, the three power branch check and balance each other, and none of them can be more powerful than the other. So there is a balance in the system. Okay, so this is what you have to know about the USA. And the last thing, I don't want to go into details because the last video was about the different isms, I mean ideologies of 19th century. So liberalism, nationalism, and conservatism, and socialism, and within that, Marxism is needed. So, itt a vége, örülünk neki, Ian Homer Simpson, és nyilván a 19. századi izmusokat nem mondom el még egyszer, az az előző videóban szerintem jól megvan. Ha bárki nem ért valamit, felveszi velem a kapcsolatot. Jó munkát kívánok!